So really quickly, I'm going to revisit 5 things that I wish I'd known at the beginning of my student journey just to reinforce my finances all the more. Obviously, whilst I was uni, I was saving a lot of money. I made money through internships and part-time work, and I was also tutoring, which gave me a good amount of income even when I was studying. I managed to save quite a lot of money year on year, and then obviously I invested a majority of that to grow my portfolio essentially, which is to about £70,000. So starting with number 1 is to find more ways to introduce different income streams. So obviously becoming a tutor was great, and that was the majority of my income stream and the most consistent throughout university. But I think I would have looked more into things like research. Obviously that's very easy whilst you're at university, and it's something that I dabbled into but didn't really explore that much, and only really explored my 3rd year. So that's something that I would have gone into much earlier, and then I ended up doing a brand study earlier this year, which gave me a couple £100 in income on the side, which was really good. So I'd look into that a little bit more. The second thing that I would definitely do is to kind of move into tutoring through referrals a lot quicker. I've experienced both tutoring through an agency and directly, and there are pros and cons to both. But definitely moving into referrals was what allowed me to save a lot more money compared to when I was working in an agency, and there were lots of intermittent fees. I also would have moved into tutoring a lot quicker in my 1st year. The third thing I would do is to look at internships and work experience even earlier. If I could go back, I had a lot of work experience in my 2nd year, but I would have brought more work experience in my 1st year, so that could set me up better, potentially do a summer internship. And then by the time I came to my 2nd year, I would have looked for sort of more higher paying income internships. And so I did a tech internship earlier this year, but I would have done it a lot sooner. Definitely my 2nd year of university, ideally my 1st year of university, and then into my 3rd year of university. Obviously my 1st and 2nd year I made money, but that was minimum wage, and so I saved about £3,000 in the summer. So that's another thing that I would do. Then moving into the 4th bucket of things that I would do, or sort of things that I would do differently, is to, and keep in mind that I was already budgeting with a spreadsheet. I had a good grip of what was coming in and out of my money. What I maybe didn't include in the beginning that I ended up including in my 2nd, 3rd year was to have money budgeted for experiences. That still remains to be the category that I put the most money into and that I spend the most money off. But obviously whilst you're at uni as well, you know, everyone wants to have good experiences and have good memories, and so being able to budget for that really helped me afford a lot of experiences that turned into core memories for me. And that's something that I would really recommend, even if you're not at university, is making sure that you're budgeting for experiences, because it does make a difference. And now that I can budget for it, I can actually make sure that I'm still hitting my monthly budgeting and making sure that I'm not going over budget with what I have month to month. The 5th and final thing would have been to diversify more my investment portfolio a lot sooner than I did. Obviously, when you have less money in an investing account, you don't want to be looking at too many different funds. I think once I diversified my portfolio, I put myself in a much better position for fluctuations and sort of changes and losses and, you know, obviously gains, but just put myself in a better position. So that's something I would have read up on and educated myself on a lot earlier and done slightly differently. Then again, I think investing is the main thing that I did really well, and I'm really glad that I spent a lot of my time in 1st year putting money aside and investing as much of it as possible. And so I think that is the main thing, and then everything you do after that, sort of smaller increments to improve what you're already doing. So ultimately that was the big step, and I already took it, but hopefully any one of these 5 things might be things that you haven't considered or can now consider and get way ahead of throughout your university journey to come out of it having had, you know, expanded your financial portfolio and also your financial literacy.